Hi, y'all. Happy Monday. It is Joy with Joyful Living here. I am so grateful to see you guys back for another week. This month, our topic or our theme is faith. And we've had a couple weeks. If you want to go watch those previous ones, you totally should. They will tie in. Today, I actually want to talk about our topic of the day, which is going to be finding your community in Christ. I will say, I've grown up with a lot of different circles, from people, growing up in the church, all the way to, party people and everywhere in between. And you really, once you start getting older, you really start to notice the importance of your associations, and how that really shapes your life and your perspective. So I'm going to share a little bit today. We're going to get into the Bible here in a little bit, but I want to tell a story first because I feel like it's important to really outline how who you hang around shapes what you accept, who you become, the choices that you make. So if you didn't know, I used to smoke a lot of marijuana in my early 20s. I am 2+ years clean and sober. Everybody's different. So it works for some people. It just didn't work for me. So I had a boyfriend. This was about 4 years ago. I had a boyfriend at the time, and I was visiting him up in a different state. And we liked to smoke, but we couldn't smoke at the Airbnb that we were staying at. So, and this is like such an interesting story. Don't judge. I mean, you can judge me. I don't care. But this is like, just think about it. We wanted to smoke, so we were looking for a place. And we had been dating for about 6 months, so I trusted him. I trusted his decisions. I trusted where he led me. And so we were in his car. We were looking for a place to park so we could smoke. And there was a sign, and I don't know why he made this decision. Obviously, we're not together anymore. But he saw a parking lot, but it said authorized personnel only. It looked tucked away. And I was like, the intuition in me was like, that's maybe not the best decision. But at the time, I trusted him. And he was leading our relationship. So I was like, you know what? Okay, that's fine. So we ended up going into that parking lot, sitting and smoking. And come to find out, it ended up being like a federally owned parking lot. And this is like, we'll say this is 5 years ago now, so the statute of limitations has passed. Thank you. But basically, long story short, we got ticketed. Luckily, it was not worse than that. The guy ended up being very kind, but a police officer stopped us basically. And I got put into that situation. And now, granted, I did put myself there. I did allow him to, make that decision, and I followed him in that. But, had I been by myself, I for sure would not have made that decision. Not sure if I should really be telling you this story, but it just came to mind, and I just felt like I should share. It's things like that. And obviously, I'm a totally different person now and in a totally different place. But it's things like that, where your associations aren't necessarily bad, per se. He wasn't a bad person, obviously, but he wasn't obviously it wasn't the best decision. Obviously he wasn't making smart, well-informed decisions. Both of us were not very smart for, smoking in the first place, but I digress. That's not the point. The point of the story is that if you do not evaluate your circle of people, if you do not have a good gate and fence that protects who you let into your life, you can end up in situations you never thought you'd be in. Like in a federal parking lot. Right? So enough about that story. But I just wanted you to see that for me, my community and the places and the communities I've placed myself in over the years have shaped who I've become. I have been a stoner. I was a financial professional for a while, and, I still believe in financial professionalism. I had a whole group of financial professionals I was with and people that were striving for more and really ambitious. I'm more recently in like the church community and that atmosphere. And I've just found such wonderful people there that are just so good, like just such good-hearted people. And so you can do a lot alone. Don't get me wrong. You can grow by yourself. You can make waves by yourself. You can grow in your faith. But you can't, we are meant as people to live in society together with others. We are meant to live in community. Doesn't necessarily have to be within the walls of a church, but I will tell you, my life as a believer and my faith grew in its richness and its depth whenever I started associating myself with other believers, with other people who were striving to find God every day. And so I have my notes here. So I'm going to go here just to make sure I have everything in order. I don't know if you've ever heard these. We're going to get into the Bible in a little bit, but I want to, tell you like the worldly phrases that we hear sometimes, right? You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you hang around 4 drunks, you'll be the 5th. If you hang around 4 millionaires, you'll be the 5th. Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. You ever heard that one? Right? Your environment will beat your willpower every time. Your environment will beat your willpower every time. These aren't Bible verses. These are phrases that, different people have said. Proximity is power. Energy is contagious. Choose wisely. You don't rise alone. You rise with your circle. And so it's not really just a biblical concept, but it is laid out in multiple places in the Bible. So we're going to go out about that. But I didn't want to do just biblical context because I want you to see how it is quite literally a well-known thing that your associations will shape your future. They will shape your beliefs. They will shape what direction you go. And so in that regard, it is very, very important for you to have healthy associations. And here's something we'll get into in a little bit, but it's not enough to just be around good people. Because good people can still draw you away from what you're supposed to do, from your faith. I don't want to get into it right now because I would rather get into the Bible. So we're going to read out of the New Living Translation version because this was a gift from my parents. And it's a little bit easier to read. If you want to deep dive, feel free to go New King James, all the other stuff. We're going to start with bad company. So what does the Bible say about bad company? I'm going to go to 1 Corinthians 15:33 first. And there it is. It says, "Don't be fooled by those who say such things, for bad company corrupts good character." Bad company bad company corrupts good character. And corrupt by its very nature is to destroy something, right? To make it weaker. So when you're around people that are bad company, it corrupts your morality. It corrupts your values, right? Let's go to Proverbs 13:20. I'm going to jump around for the bad company thing. Love Proverbs. It's all about wisdom. And speaking of, Proverbs 13:20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise. Associate with fools and get in trouble." And that brings me back to my story at the beginning of this episode. Not saying that he was a fool, but that was a foolish decision, right? Context clues, thoughts, like all of that. Like it could have been avoided. That whole situation could have been avoided had we paid attention, made better decisions, and been wise instead of foolish. And we did indeed get in trouble. Psalm 1:1. This one is interesting. We're going to go to this one. And I want to talk a little bit more in depth on this one. "Oh, the joys of those who do not follow the advice of the wicked, or stand around with sinners, or join in with mockers." Now, I kind of did a little bit of like a reflection on this. Follow the advice of the wicked, stand around with sinners, and join in with mockers. In a different version, it says, "Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers." Bad company, and I've experienced this myself, bad company doesn't start, all at once. You're a sensible person. You're a good person. You don't just start walking into bad company and bad character. That doesn't sit right with you, right? If you're in a different point of view. But it corrupts slowly and over time. It will erode you over time. The more you spend time with people who don't align with you, or who don't respect you, or who don't follow your same beliefs, or even good people that don't follow your beliefs. I've had a different array of friends, and not all my friends have been Christ followers, and that's okay. I don't need every single one of my friends to share the same faith as me. But it's imperative. In my early 20s, when I stepped away from the church, I told a little bit of this in my story, it was because of a friend's questioning of my faith. Now, that's a blessing now because it gave me the ability to truly question my faith because it wasn't built on anything. And so that was a blessing to me so that I could really examine my faith and really come to know Jesus on my own terms. But whenever you get into that space where you are wanting to build your relationship with God, where you're wanting to build your faith, if you are around people, and this is not where I live anymore, but if you're around people that constantly question your faith or belittle you, I've never been in those spaces, but I just feel like I'm talking to somebody. If you're around people who belittle or question your faith or make you wonder if you're making the right decision or, make fun of your faith. Like if you're around people who don't understand your faith, you're around the wrong people. Now, it's not bad to hang around people who are not believers. That's not what I'm saying. So don't get up in arms in the comments. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you want to grow your relationship with Christ, it is very, very hard to do that alone. And it is even harder to do that when you get pushback from people who love you and people who you spend time around. There's a parable that Jesus talks about, the scattering seed. I wasn't going to talk about this, but it's coming to mind, so I'm just going to bring it up. Shorthand version, he talks about the farmer scattering seed, and some of it falls on the concrete, and it shrivels away because it has no standing. Some of it falls on shallow soil, but it doesn't grow roots and it dies in the sun. Some of it grows in soil with thorns, and so it gets choked out. That seed gets choked out before it's able to fully grow. And then some seeds falls onto healthy soil, and that is able to be nourished, and it grows into 50, 100, plus times harvest than what the seed was. And Jesus was basically saying, where the seed of your faith lands determines how it's going to grow. So in this, I'm speaking particularly to the people whose seed of faith falls into the thorns. The condemning, condemnation from other people around your faith, right? It's important to find good soil so that you can nourish it. Not blindly follow people, that's not what I'm saying, but get nourished by other people. I have multiple communities of women just Christ followers in multiple different areas, in church, in my retreat, in my discipleship program, Monday nights. Like I have multiple groups of people and women that I'm able to talk about life with and ask questions with and wrestle with God and my faith with. That's the blessing. I'm going to get into good company and how good company helps you. I'm going to save that one for last. Galatians 6:2 says, share each other's burdens, and in this way obey the law of Christ. If you think you are too important to help someone, you are only fooling yourself. You are not that important. Honestly, I find that one pretty funny, that you're not that important, because sometimes I need that reminder, but I do love helping people. But part of Christianity is bearing one another's burdens, is carrying the heavy load, is being there for people when life hits and saying, I've got you, I love you, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you is such like a touching thing for me to hear when I'm going through tough times or when I'm wanting things I haven't quite gotten yet. To hear the words, I'm praying for you from a friend, means the world to me, because you're everybody has their own burdens, but you're bringing mine specifically to God. And I even want to talk about, this kind of came up earlier when I was doing the notes. I used to not be able to ask for help. I don't want to say judge people for asking for help, but I had no problem helping other people, but I had true issue with people stepping in to help me. And I think that's very telling. It's important to remember that you don't have to earn help, that you're not above getting assistance. If other people deserve to get your assistance and your love and your care, let those friends offer that help to you. For example, it's going to be a story time, I guess, today. I live in my own apartment. I'm blessed to live here based on the growth I've had, whatever, that's unimportant. But whenever I was moving from my roommate and I's apartment over to this one, I had movers, but I still had like little stuff I had to move. I still had trips I had to make over. And so I had one girlfriend that came early I think it was a Saturday morning, and we went to get breakfast, like a little quick breakfast, and then start packing things up. And she just offered her car and her assistance, and she was such a help to me and helped bring things over. And then she had to leave. And then these are all my church girls. And then my church girl friends came over, and one of them brought water and pizza, and the other girls came with like cleaning supplies, and just like we're unpacking boxes and like, oh, I'm going to do the bathroom. Oh, I'm going to do the dresser. Where does this go? Like and it wasn't even like I really asked for it. Maybe I did. I don't know. I was just saying, hey, I'm moving. And the ladies were like, hey, we want to help. One of my really good friends came a different day. She brought her son, her little, I think he was 5 or 6 at the time, 6-year-old. And they came, and he was offering to clean up, and they gave me a housewarming gift. And it was just the sweetest thing. I felt so loved. I felt so loved by my women, my women in my community. And that's like moving can be heavy, the movers lifted all the heavy stuff, but it's that little stuff, it's the ways that we carry each other's burdens, or take a listening ear, or just sit with someone in prayer or in care. Didn't mean to rhyme, but I just it was right there. But, that, I think, is what being a Christ follower is all about. Jesus said, you will know them by their fruits. And by their fruits basically means what they produce. The outcome of how they show up in the world. How you feel around them. They're fruits of their labor. They're fruits of their morality and their effort. Let me do another one. Where did it go? Here it is. Hebrews 10:24-25. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works, and let us not neglect our meeting together, as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near. So that's what I'm talking about. That whole story I just went on is highlighted in this. How do we spur on love and good works in other people? How do we inspire that? How do we pour into people so that they feel full enough and overflowing to pour into others? That to me is rewarding. And then, of course, you didn't think I would get by without this one. Oh, it's here. Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. I'm going to tell one more story. This is the day of stories. Just bear with me. It's real life examples. I have the best women in my life. I have a good friend of mine. We met through finance, and, we do fitness stuff together, and we're both Christ believers, so we've gone to church with each other, we've gone to women's events, all that stuff, and she's a friend I hold dear to my heart. Well, this morning, I slept in. I have a routine where I wake up early in the morning, I go work out. Sometimes a girl needs a rest. So I slept in today, and she messaged me I think I'm gonna go, work out. And I'm like, oh, that sounds great. She's like, oh, maybe we should try out this new gym. And I'm like, I don't really feel like doing that. I don't have the motivation. I don't want to drive more than 10 minutes because I was thinking about going and getting an easy workout at my gym that's closer. And she was like, girl, I know dang well you drive farther for your trainer. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your clothes on and you're going to come work out with me. And she kind of called me out a little bit. She was like, get up, let's go. You have goals to hit. You're meeting me over at this gym. That's only 15 minutes away, by the way. And I don't know. It's friends like that. It's friends like that who challenge you out of your box, who challenge you for more, I have a friend of mine who's sharing her testimony at our discipleship group, and she was kind of deciding which week to do, and then she was like, I'll decide next week, and then the next week she was sick, and I messaged her, and I sent her a picture of the sign-up sheet. I said, hey girl, what day you doing? I know you're not feeling well, but you're not getting out of this, right? Because she wants to share her testimony. She's just, nervous. But she asked me to hold her accountable. I'm like, if you're going to ask me to hold you accountable, well then, buckle up. And so this is what I'm talking about. It doesn't have to be necessarily in the church, but we as a church, like as a body of Christ, should be spurring on others to good works, should be holding up our sisters when we're sad, should be caring for other people beyond ourselves. That's the whole point of Christianity. He says, they will know that you are my disciples by the way that you love one another. And Christianity nowadays sometimes makes me sad, because people believe in condemning others to Christ. And that's not how it works. It's his kindness that leads us to repentance. I'll probably get into that next week, talking about fulfillment and faithfulness. But I just wanted to put in your ear this week that it is really, really, really important who you allow in your circle, who you allow in your inner circle, or as I like to call it, your circle of influence. So I'm going to challenge you this week. I don't know how long we've been. It doesn't even say. But I'm going to challenge you this week. Evaluate your circle. I want you to write down everyone that you come in contact with regularly. Family, friends, work, etc. Write down all of their names. And then I want you to go back and put a plus or a minus. You put a plus or neutral. So if they add to your life, if you feel energized in their presence, if they are a good influence on you, you put a plus. If they drain your energy, if they make you feel inadequate, if they start bringing you back to things you're trying to get away from, put a negative. And I don't want you to think about it. It's not a thought. Just go through it. I've done this exercise before. It's been a while, so maybe I should do it again. And if they don't go either way, if they're, pretty even ground or don't influence you like that, you can put a neutral. But I want you to go through your circle of influence, and I want you to truly evaluate who you are allowing in your space. And then I want you to pray or sit with it and ask God, what do I do with this? Because sometimes if somebody's a negative, it's not like I'm cutting you out of my life completely. It's like you can't say goodbye and, whatever, or, cut off your family. I mean, you can if you want to, right? I'm not telling you to do that, though. I'm telling you to evaluate that. And if it means limiting your exposure, stepping away, having boundaries, then do that. The people that add to your life, how can you start investing more time in those people and those relationships? Because that, in the end, is what's really going to shift and change you. So I don't know how long this was. I hope it wasn't super long, but honor yourself by only allowing people access to you who truly deserve it. Because that shapes your future. It shapes your life. And yeah, I just want the best for you guys. I see there's comments already and likes, and I just appreciate all your support. Whether I know you personally or not, you don't know how much it means to me. And I'm bracing myself for the hateful comments, because I'm sure, once I get enough people watching, you'll probably have something negative to say, and that's okay too. I'm working on stealing my constitution. So it doesn't bother me. So I hope you guys will continue living joyfully. And I really, really feel blessed that we get to do it together. I'll see you next week.